again, and it's been a bit over a week since us Anji mains started the mourn for Anji, and we thought he was completely dead, but today, now that time has passed, we've had time to settle and think about what he still has. I think Anji still has some really cool things, and he's still a pretty damn strong character. So in today's video, I'm gonna go over a bunch of combos and or tech that I think still makes Anji really strong. And yes, just to clarify at the start, this video is going to be full of copium, so I don't want to see no one in the comments down below being like, Anji's still a trash character, he had this tech before, this tech isn't even useful, other characters can do this way better. But I'm just trying to make Anji seem a little bit better, because he's still fun, and I don't want to keep dragging and dooming on my favorite character, okay? So this is a copium video, but it's also some pretty cool tech, so enjoy. First off, the two BNB routes that I think are best for Anji in terms of consistency and damage, BNBs off of regular RC combos. So the first one is, after you get the RC bubble, you go close slash into Kara Kou, and then you get a falling jump K into whatever you want to end with. Has some pretty crazy screen carry, and there are a few ways you can end the combo depending on how you like to end your combos. Now, I understand that going for Kara inputs can be pretty tricky for some people. I do recommend going into training mode and practicing them a bunch with Anji, because they often lead to his best routes. But another route that I think works really well, especially if, you know, maybe you're in your bad connection, or you're just not feeling going for the Karas and you're messing it up a ton. Whenever I am not too far away from the opponent, I can just go for a, not drift RC, but just a standing RC into a dash up dust, and then from the dust you can get your ender off of it. It does pretty comparable damage and is quite a bit easier than a Kara Kou. So if you are in a situation, the only time you really can't go for this is if you go close slash 2S, like you do the 3 chain. Then you're too far to go for a standing RC because the opponent's too far away, but if you get a close slash into 6H, or just a close slash into 5H, most of the time Fujin brings you enough forwards to go for this. And it's just a far easier way of getting combos with really juicy damage. And you can choose what ender you like to go for, because it's very easy to finish, because you get to go for a close slash. So whether you like finishing in Fujin, or Kou, charged Kou, or uncharged Kou, or even just going in for a butterfly if you're closer to the corner and you want to do something just like this. Because that can be a pretty good setup for a butterfly. So those are two routes that I find work really well for Anji whenever you get a basic BNB red RC combo. They're both very good. And another note for the Kara Kou combo, if you do notice that like you have gone for the Kara Kou and you mess up the Kara, because it's quite obvious because you don't get the particle effect on the ground, and you know you didn't get the Kara, and you just see that you just went close slash into Kou accidentally, that actually isn't too bad of a situation. Yes, you've lost a bit of damage, but this is one of the best situations for Anji. It's got the perfect height and distance for him to get some pretty sneaky cross-ups. So watch this. If I forget to do the Kara, or I just mess up the Kara accidentally, I can dash in afterwards and do the same kind of like frame kill situation. And so after I get the Kou, depending on how late or early I dash, I'm either going to cross up the opponent or stay on the same side, and it is very hard to tell which one is actually coming out. As you can see, that was very meaty and it crossed up, and it would have been very tricky for this poor Kai player to react to. And while we're on this topic, let's go over tech piece number 2. I know that Kou doesn't have a hard knockdown anymore, but it doesn't mean ending in Kou is a completely non-advantageous situation. Off of Kou, there are 2 or 3 main things that I think are really good ways to steal your advantage back after you've ended your combo in Kou. So, the first and most obvious one, maybe you've seen me do it before. After Kou, just go dash in heavy slash, and that is the perfect frame kill for if after you do it, you can go for a close slash or whatever button you want, and it's basically going to be an automatic meaty. Pretty similar to how like the 2K 2D Fujin into the hop is an automatic meaty, like meaning you can get a close slash with perfect timing automatically, so the opponent can't throw out of it. So anytime you end in Kou, you can just easily go for a dash in heavy slash and get a super meaty close slash. And having this easy meatiness allows you to go for some tricky things, like you can choose to go for a 2S for a low or a dust if you're feeling really evil, or of course you have the opportunity just go for a little bit of a run-in to go for a throw. Obviously throw is a big win condition for Anji, so he honestly just has a lot of opportunities off of this, and because the heavy slash doesn't actually hit, this can actually catch people if you just go for a low quite a few times at the beginning, because people still don't know how to fight Anji, especially after a new patch and they have to relearn how to fight Anji. If you go for this the first few times, I recommend just going for a low, especially if it's a cross-up low like that just then, because people are going to think the heavy slash from the air is going to hit, and then they're going to get hit by the low, so that'll catch the opponent a few times, and then if you start mixing it up even more, and then go in for a run-up throw, and the throw can come from either side, making it weirder and weirder, or you can even do some even weirder fake-outs where you can actually make your 2K come out too quickly that the 2K becomes a frame kill as well, and then they think that not only is the overhead not coming, so they're like, oh okay, I know he's gonna go for a low, but then you go for a low that doesn't even hit, and then you can go straight into a grab. So there is just a lot of weird, wacky mix-up potential that Anji can get off of his Kou now. As you can see there, 2K completely missed, and I got to go for a throw instantly. That will catch people 90% of the time, it's crazy. And obviously, since this is like frame kill stuff, it's pretty damn safe. So if Kai is trying to go for a DP here, yes, Kai has a slightly slow DP, but still good for demonstration. So if I think he's gonna DP, most of the options I have actually recover fast enough that his DP will just completely miss, especially if I go for a low profiling thing like a 2K or a 2D, or a quick recovering thing. If I know he's gonna do it, I can just stand there and block, or if I know the opponent's gonna DP, because you know, some people just be reactable, I can do the same thing and then just go for the run-up throw that was one of the mix-up options we were going to go for anyways, because throws beat DPs. So, going for these sorts of mix-ups off of Kou is a really awesome mix-up tool that Anji has access to now. Whether it's after a long combo or just after a simple 2K 2D, you can easily just dash in after ending in Kou and go for whatever kind of mix-up you want, whether it's a cross-up or a non-cross-up close slash or a 2S for a low, or the most disrespectful option, a charge to dust. Also, you can do a micro dash throw from either side, and you can do a fake 2K that whiffs and then go for a throw afterwards. Honestly, the mix-up potential is nearly limitless, and it's pretty damn awesome. The next option Anji has is also a way he can follow up off of Kou as an ender, and that is just by doing Fujin. Ending with Kou actually gives Anji the perfect amount of time to go for a fully charged Fujin that is, once again, completely meaty, so it'll beat throws or 2Ps or whatever the opponent tries to do. This option, however, will definitely lose to DPs if you don't intentionally bait it, unlike the safe jump option, which can beat DPs pretty easily. Now, honestly, having the opponent DP from this far away is a little bit strange and uncommon, but come on, we've all faced a Kai player or a Soul player. It's not impossible. So, despite that, DP is a little bit rare to happen from this distance, So it's a pretty good opportunity for you to get a near guaranteed Fujin off, and a charged Fujin is particularly good in this game. Unfortunately not on hit, this patch. Fortunately not on hit. But on block, it's very, very good. It's completely safe, which means whenever you get a Kou, you get some crazy guaranteed pressure that has the ability to be completely safe. And since you get charged Fujin off of Kou, that leads to some cool Fujin shenanigans that you don't usually get off of a regular Fujin. So just pretend I've ended my combo in Kou and I'm going for charged Fujin here. Charged Fujin is actually kind of a frame trap into the Rin. So if the opponent tries to mash buttons after the Fujin, Rin will actually catch the opponent. And a counter hit overhead Rin is actually combo offable, that's a word, for free. Which isn't something we get off of Rin anymore, so we'll take any free combos we can get. So that's pretty cool. Also, if the opponent just happens to get hit by it, you can combo into Rin automatically, which is just another way of getting a little bit more damage than you would have had before. Also, because it's completely safe on block, it just means its overall frames are better, so you can just do little cheeky stuff like go into 2G 2D afterwards instead of any follow-ups. And also, of course, it makes going for leap follow-up even better because the opponent is stuck in block stun for a lot longer. It is still technically minus. The opponent can throw you and like actually punish the jump in, but it's still a gimmick, but it's a little bit better of a gimmick. And equally, your butterfly follow-up, your P follow-up, not only is it just in general a lot more plus, but it's a lot easier to get off when you get it off of charged Fujin, because, you know, more block stun, less chance for them to run away. And when they do block it, you're hella plus. You're so plus that if they actually get hit by it, you can get a 2S every time. So, this Ender in specific isn't really due to anything good of Kou. It mainly benefits from the positive changes we got to Fujin, because now, anytime we get a guaranteed setup into charged Fujin, it leads to a lot better situation for Anji. Whether we jump in, choose to go for the mix, which now is a frame trap, which just makes it a lot better, or just go for more plus frames with a P follow-up, it just leads to a lot better situation thanks to Fujin just being way better. So yeah, instead of going for mix-ups, if you don't feel like going for the dash-in for these mix-ups, maybe the opponent's stuffing them a bunch, or they're just not getting mixed up, you can go for charged Fujin after your Kou as an Ender and go for more pressure. Okay, now let's talk about the slightly more situational combos Anji gets, namely the ones you get after counter hits. So, if you get a counter hit Fujin, you actually have quite a few options. So whenever I get a counter hit Fujin, I can go jump in into close slash 6H Fujin follow-up. And that is pretty decent damage and completely free, and it has a ton of corner carry. As you can see, from the middle of the screen, I'm in the corner, and now I get to throw my bird and go for cover the sky and do classic Anji stuff that we all love. So having that option that is just completely free is really, really lovely, and it looks so stylish. And it actually has a surprising amount of wall break factor, that if you get it off of something as simple as this, you get a wall break for free, so you just get to end the combo with a super, and it only costs me 1 bar, get a lovely hard knockdown and positive bonus, for super simple stuff. So it's really worthwhile taking note of how close you are to the wall, because it's pretty likely that it'll break. If you want to go for something a little bit flashier, not necessarily more damage, but it looks cool, you can actually go into P follow-up, and then follow up the P follow-up with a Car Slash. Into Fujin again, and then get whatever lovely Anji combos tickle your fancy. Now, off of 5S counter hit, I actually have a lovely combo that I like to do using the P follow-up into RC and then get a hard knockdown. It's a pretty funky looking combo, but god, it feels so good to hit. And it's a perfect opportunity for Anji to go for a Shitsu butterfly setup, because a lot of the time in this version of the game, Anji has a little bit of trouble going for that. Unless it's a throw, Anji very rarely gets a good Shitsu setup, because 2K 2D often leaves him way too close, and the butterfly will just go straight over their heads, and if he tries to walk backwards, then it's not really a good meaty butterfly. So I like to use this combo as an opportunity to go for a really cool looking flashy combo and having a really good way of going into a good Shitsu setup. Because you do want just straight damage, you can go for the Rin follow-up and just do classic stuff. But come on, be a little bit interesting sometimes, even though that damage is pretty alluring. Oh, a close slash counter hit? You can kind of go for your classic stuff, just go close slash 2H into Kou, close slash 2H into Kou, and then you can use the Kou follow-ups we talked about a little bit earlier, and it's pretty decent damage. You can always go for super to finish the combo. If you haven't spent any meter to start the combo, I basically will always break the wall with the super, because come on, it's so worth it in that situation. So close slash combos, basically the exact same as they were before. Obviously you also have the opportunity of going close slash, run cancel into close slash again. I don't know if it's that worth it. I would rather just know that I can go for my 2H and go for some lovely Kou stuff. But if you get a 2H counter hit, which is, you know, the counter hit that we got off of when you do close slash into 2H, it's pretty similar again. If you're close enough, your Kou can loop into 5 close slash 2H into Kou again, and it's pretty similar stuff. It's still pretty beefy damage, so nothing to complain about. But if you are near the corner, something that I like to do instead of going for Kou, because it can be a little bit more brain dead, I just like to go straight in for charged Fujin, because, well, in the corner you can do that. Unfortunately, when you mid-screen, Fujin kind of goes underneath. I can go for charged Fujin as an extender. And you might be wondering, why would I bother doing this? Mainly just for the fact that, like I said, it's a bit more brain dead. If the opponent does block my close slash 2H, going in for Fujin is just going in for more Fujin pressure. And I'm going in for charged Fujin, so I've gone close slash 2H, charged Fujin. The pressure makes itself. I can go for an overhead, I can go for more plus frames, I can leave the Fujin and go for 2K, 2D, whatever I want, run up throw. But if I had been a bit too brain dead and accidentally input Kou because I was expecting the counter hit, well then I'm just flying up in the air like an idiot and not really getting any pressure. But if I'm going into Fujin either way, it works on block or on hit. Down to hit 2D combos are basically the same as they were before. You can just go into Fujin and you'll get a lovely big pop-up, then get whatever kind of combos you want after that. And obviously, very notably, the new counter hits we have for 2P and all your P and K buttons lets you go into 6H and lets you go into combos. Now, I don't recommend spending meter on these because obviously if you start with a 2K or a 2P, the combo is going to scale like hell, so if it's not going to kill, don't spend it, is my motto. I would far more highly recommend just going into your 6H, into Fujin, into Nagiha, and then keep it meterless. And that kind of leads into the next kind of piece of tech that I have, is it's honestly often very worthwhile just leaving some combo situations with Anji completely meterless and ending in Nagiha. Because thanks to the changes in to Fujin, using Fujin as a follow-up after Fujin's follow-ups is actually kind of a really viable option. I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but anytime I've ended my combo just like this and I want to keep it meterless, depending on how close I am, I can go for a slightly charged Fujin or a fully charged Fujin if I'm further away. So, if I just end in Nagiha, I can just do a slightly charged Fujin, and as you can see there, that was completely meaty. If my opponent tries to throw or press buttons, just a tiny, minusculely charged Fujin will counter-hit them, and it works very well. So yeah, anyone trying to mash on whatever you're doing will get a big counter hit, and then you get to go for your lovely big counter hit Fujin combos. And it brings the opponent to the corner very, very quickly. Then obviously if the opponent does block, we're in the same situation where the opponent's blocking Fujin, which is honestly not too bad for Anji now that the follow-ups are all kind of viable. You also have the ability just to go in for Kara Fujin P follow-up, which works pretty well if the opponent is expecting just to block a Fujin. You can go straight into the P follow-up and just snag your plus frames real quick. And also if the opponent is a little bit further away, you can just use that time to like fully charge up a Fujin and launch yourself from across the screen at them. And honestly, this is a pretty good setup even if your opponent is trying to DP, because if you think your opponent's going to beat DP, you can just make this slightly less meaty and hold the Fujin down a little bit more. And as you know, if you hold down Fujin, well, you're going to get a guard point, so if the opponent DPs through your guard point, then you get a super easy punish. And yeah, it's just a really easy, almost an option select, honestly, if just going for Fujin after even this light knockdown. Yeah, anytime you get a grounded combo that you just end in Nagiha, whether it's maybe off of a Fujin counter hit or something where you've already gotten a decent chunk of damage and the opponent is kept grounded, I recommend sometimes just keeping it meterless. Save your meter for a situation where it's really needed, where it'll kill, where it's you wouldn't have been able to extend otherwise, and yeah, take the easy guaranteed Fujin setup. Pretty neat stuff. Now, the main mix that Anji has in this patch is basically always going to be off of his throw, and which is kind of cool because throw is mix in itself. So Anji's either big hunky bunky guard point mids all the time, or just a complete mix monster when he starts throwing and going for mix with butterfly. He kind of switches in between two modes throughout play. So, what is the mix he gets off of his throw? Obviously, the main option is going to be throwing butterfly and then going for Fujin stuff. And I'll just list through the main options that you have. The first one is just bridging the gap in between the two hits of the butterfly with the first hit of your Fujin. And oops, the opponent is not blocking, but as you can see there's a big counter hit, we'll get to that soon. If the opponent is just patiently blocking, you can bridge the gap in between the two hits of the butterfly by just doing a slightly charged Fujin, and then you can jump forwards and use the plus frames from the second hit of the butterfly, the eagle or something, and just do some awesome combo extension or pressure extensions afterwards. As you can see, it cranks the risk quite a lot. The next option is actually faking out the Fujin and going for a Kara Fujin hop, and then because the Fujin didn't hit and there's enough space, the opponent can actually be thrown and you kind of reset the entire situation. So if the opponent isn't reacting to this, you could theoretically do this to the other side of the screen. And if they do think that you're gonna do the jump thing and they try to mash out, well, not very good for the opponent. So use that option a bunch to make the opponent respect you. If the opponent tries to DP, the charged Fujin will actually go under Kai's DP, so you can punish him landing with a throw. And if you want to be safe from DPs in the middle of the sequence, you can actually just do an uncharged Fujin. And although that won't leave a space for the opponent to get counter hit if they try to mash or something, it does cover the space if they try to, DP, so if you think the opponent's more likely to DP than they are to throw or press other buttons, and go for an uncharged Fujin here, because as you can see, it does a pretty good job of beating up DPs. Now, if you've used these options correctly and the opponent's respecting you, that's when you can kind of go for some more of the dirty mix, which includes either going for a low or an overhead. Both of which, as you can see, are plus if the opponent manages to block them. So that is very crazy, and not only are they plus if the opponent manages to block them, they're also obviously gonna start combos. Make sure you don't do the flash follow-up too quickly or it'll accidentally combo for the first butterfly hit instead of the second. big damage if they get hit by either an overhead or a low, which is pretty ridiculous. And if they get hit by not an overhead or a low, but a throw, then it just resets the entire situation again. And even if you're not going for the mix options that let you get combos, if you're just trying to do the things that make the opponent respect you, like damn it, just block something. Even though you're not getting the cool big combos, having the opponent get hit by all 4 of those hits is still a little bit of pretty decent damage off of a single throw, like a third of the opponent's life bar or nearly half. That's not too bad, even though you didn't get exactly what you wanted. So it's good to make sure you make the opponent respect you first, or else the mix can really blow up in your face, because the opponent can counter-hit you out of the things or throw you or whatever. So make sure you've got their respect before you start doing some crazy things, but once you do the crazy things, it's pretty crazy. Now, another little mix option that Anji can get off of a throw that is not the classic butterfly stuff is actually getting a safe jump heavy slash. And it's not something I see many Anji players use, but I thought it was a pretty interesting and easy pressure tool for Anji to use if you want to switch it up a bit, because I know cycling through the butterfly options is fun and he has tons of them, but why not add an extra entire option? Because sometimes, you know, if you just keep using the butterfly, the opponent knows what's coming, but if you do something completely weird, I think you have a better chance of catching them off guard. So after you go for a throw, or even a 2K 2D, honestly, if you ever get a hard knockdown, just go for a Kou, even though the Kou doesn't hit. I know, it's just a way of putting him in the air at a nice height. And depending on how you time the jump heavy slash, it'll either hit the opponent or not hit the opponent. As you can see, if I do it a tiny bit later, if I do it a tiny bit late, it will miss the opponent, and I can go for an instant throw afterwards. And that's super hard to react to. I mean, it's unreactable, obviously, which is pretty ridiculous. So not only is this a safe jump and an overhead throw or low mix-up, that's pretty crazy in and of itself. So what exactly am I doing? After I get the throw, I go for a Kou, and if you do the jump heavy slash in like the earlier frames, it will actually hit the opponent. Get some simple Fujin stuff. If I change the timing for the jump heavy slash even slightly, it will completely miss, and then I can go in for a throw instantly afterwards. And you can OS this. If you're not good at the timing, you can just do the input for the jump in and the input for the throw, and if the jump in does hit, the throw won't come out, and if it doesn't hit, it will. So that's a really good mix-up in and of itself. But also, if you do the empty jump, the one that looks like it'll hit but then it doesn't, you can go for a 2K. For a three-way mix, whether it's throw, low, or overhead, these are all very, very powerful options, and it's pretty scary. Let me just quickly show that it is in fact a safe jump. So whether I do the timing for the jump heavy slash to hit or for it to miss, both options let me block Kai's wake up deep. As you can see, if the opponent tries to throw, the jump heavy slash will hit them, and he gets bing bong bong broken the wall and stuff. You can do this with other jumping buttons like jump kick, jump slash, but I don't know, I just do jump heavy slash because it's kind of easier to do accidentally either way, so even if I don't know which way I'm mixing the opponent up, surely they don't know. It makes it even harder to see, just because jumps heavy slash is just that much slower that it can be really hard to tell whether it's actually going to hit or it's just going to completely miss. The other ones are a bit hard to make miss. The jump heavy slash, it misses quite a lot, which sounds bad, but it's actually a good thing when you're talking about having empty jump and throw mix-up shenanigans. So yeah, that's another mix-up Anji has off of his hard knockdowns. Something that I don't think many people are going to be happy about is one of the main combo paths that I think I do with Anji most of the time now, or depending on the situation, but I do a lot more than I had in previous patch, is this combo. Just buttons straight into super. Why would I do this? Okay, ignoring the wall break there. Shh, shh, don't look at the damage, don't look at the damage. If I'm just doing it in a situation like this, even if the wall doesn't break, this and throw and 2K2D are the only hard knockdowns that Anji really gets. And it's surprising that this is actually one of the best options that Anji can get into butterfly with some wall carry mid-screen with some pretty decent damage. So obviously it's not, you know, super meaty like off of a throw or off of this cool combo that I showed before. Like, that's pretty meaty for the butterfly. But having a hard knockdown off of a combo that does the same amount of damage as your other combos, basically, maybe a tiny bit, like 2 points of damage less, but it gives you hard knockdown, is much shorter, so it doesn't build the opponent's burst gauge near as much as doing a full regular combo was, and it's just, you know, even if they have burst at the moment, if you just cancel into your super way earlier than they were expecting you to, then you just take your big chunk of damage without it being burstable. So it's a good way of setting up butterfly, it's a good way of just getting a chunk of damage, and it's a good way of stopping the opponent building burst and attention, even though they don't get that much attention for getting beat up. So doing it like completely mid-screen where you're not going to get any advantage, I wouldn't do too often unless I'm just doing it to get the chunk of damage, but as you can see, even from that far away, you can get really easy meaties. This is not an optimal combo, don't look at it. But the hard knockdown is really useful no matter where you are, but I think it's most useful when you're like mid-screen or somewhere around here, because then after you do the combo, it'll leave you close to the wall. Oops. So after anything, whether it's a like 2p, 5k counter hit into 6h or anything, you can get just this easy link into a super. I think it's a really good way of just cashing out on damage. Oops, you have to make sure all these hits hit or else it's going to be embarrassing and not work. But when you're this close to the wall, then the butterfly gets even better because it becomes a lot more meaty. And, you know, the opponent's taking a chunk of damage and they're in the wall against Anji. And that's very scary. And if you are even closer... So wait. Just remember how much damage the basic B&Bs we were doing before. Maybe if you can't do the Kara combos that are like a little bit better, and you're just doing stuff like this. It's like 196 damage. If I go like this, it's 196 damage. So just doing the easiest way you could do a combo is effectively the same. And if I do it near the corner, bruh, if I get a hit confirm, why would I not just go straight into super? This does nearly more damage than you would get off of some RC combos that bring you to the corners. So like, when you think about it, just pay attention to how much meter you have when you get a regular hit, and just think, should I just go straight into a super? Should I just break the wall, get my positive bonus? Because if you spend an RC in this combo, you'd have to spend two bars to get the hard knockdown and the positive bonus. But if you do the super at the beginning of the combo, you get the hard knockdown and the positive bonus just for the 1 bar that you spent on the super. So it's cheaper, does sometimes more damage. It's just a really ridiculously good option. And I don't think people are going to be impressed with that because they're like, oh, they make everything so simple now. Where's the nuance of having complex combos to do better stuff? But yeah, just consider that as an option, just going straight into a super. And I think the final piece of tech I have with Anji is a little bit more of a cool one. It's a little bit Ino-esque with the wall slump and stuff. I'm not entirely sure yet if it's totally worth the meter, but I think it's really, really cool, and I've been doing it a few times, and it's really fun. And people don't not expect this when they're fighting against an Anji play. They don't expect to get all these wall resets, wall slumps into crazy things, so let me just show you, because I think it's pretty cool and has potential to be pretty powerful. So it's using the mechanic of, even when the opponent gets wall splat, so no matter how long your combo has been, if the opponent is wall splat and you red RC, that goes into a hard knockdown, which gives you lots of time to go in for a butterfly. And as we know, Anji in the corner is already scary, but an Anji that has tons of time to throw a really, really meaty butterfly, oof, now that's scary stuff. Now let me show you some stuff. This combo is pretty cool, by the way. I'll just show it on its own, but the fact that you can get that off of a 5k or a 2k in the corner is just ridiculous. Look how cool that is. Now, I know my inputs and stuff for that are pretty janky because I'm not used to doing this kind of wall slump timing and stuff. You can see the potential and how ridiculous this is. So, he gets a hard knockdown, so you get the time to go for 2 backdashes into a Shitsu, and it hits pretty damn meaty. And because the wall has already gotten to wall splat time, the wall's pretty damaged, so now that Shitsu is out, anytime you hit the opponent with any kind of mix-up, as long as the opponent isn't airborne, they're gonna get wall slumped after about 2 or 3 hits. And if you have input Fujin, or you've gone to input a follow-up for Fujin, just make sure you press the jump button as KKK as much as you can, so you make sure you don't accidentally get a Fujin follow-up that breaks the wall. So you can just jump to make sure you don't hit the opponent, and then after you jump in, the opponent's wall slumped on the wall, just pretend like they were before. You can do backdash into another Shitsu, and then that heats them meaty as they recover from the wall slump, and then you just get to go for the same pressure again, and it just keeps looping. As when the opponent gets wall slumped, you just back off, go for another Shitsu, and then go in for pressure again, and they're blocking, and oh, they're wall slumped again, okay, let me go for another Shitsu, okay, they're blocking again, and at this point, if they get hit a second or third time, they're probably dead. They're probably dead at this point, You're fighting against Anji, he can do some gorilla damage. I haven't even spent any meter in this situation except for the setup with the red RC at the start. So make sure I don't accidentally break the wall. And I know this isn't the best pressure, but oh! Did that a little bit too quick, I broke the wall. You can see the potential here. I'll do a few more sequences to show you some of the things that are possible. So these are pretty interesting mix-ups, and I think it's going to be a bit divisive as to whether people think they are worthwhile or not, but I personally love them and think they are a really, really useful asset to Anji, because unlike some of the other setups that Anji has, or even setups like other characters, most setups only come off of certain situations. But all Anji needs for this setup is to get a wall splat, and he can get that off of anything. Most of his combos bring him so close to the corner, whether you wall splat with a Kou, with a Fujin, with a Rin from the Fujin. it's very easy to hit confirm the wall splat because you have this massive slowdown when the wall splats. Then you just press the RC button, you get a red RC, then you can back off and then go for some ridiculous Shitsu pressure. And as long as you make sure not to do too much stuff that makes the opponent airborne, so as long as you're doing, you know, your slashes, crouching slashes, 2Ks, the opponent is just going to be stuck in a loop for ages, and you can go for more throws, and that'll re-loop them as well, because you can go for throws into an OTG Shitsu, which is strong stuff that people already do with Fujin. Oh my goodness, Anji, not Fujin. And this stuff is already just really powerful, and because it wall slumps the opponent, you can just keep looping it and looping it and looping it. And if you do feel like going for something that launches, like a 2D or something, by that point, the opponent's probably already dead and they're just gonna die. Or if you go for Charged Dust, like I did in the last one there, they're gonna be so bloody dead by the time that you go for something else that isn't just the wall slump continuations of, like, just keeping your pressure going. It's really, really ridiculous how powerful that is, and I think it's very... it's something... Wait, what am I saying? I think it's something you should add into your little tool set of mix-up tools, because I don't see any people doing this, and I think you should definitely try it out. See if it works, and Anji mains, even though times are tough, our character gets nerfed from bottom 1 to bottom 1, we overadapt, we overadapt, come on, you can say the cool lines. We adapt, we overcome, and I don't know. We adapt, we overcome, and we rise above. This is our parade, Anji players. Let's go kick some ass online, because Anji, I promise, he's kinda cool. He's definitely, divisive as to whether he deserved the nerfs that he got. He's still a cool character, so don't give up on him yet. He's still our boy. Go out and play some Anji. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!